angels and downloaders alike, and welcome to Raphael and Unbiased, where I discuss the nitty-gritty details of each episode of Shadowhunters every week that was not covered in First Thoughts. So let's get started on the travesty of an episode that was Bound by Blood. I'm going to do a kind of hierarchy thing here of not so bad to WTF on the kind of confusing scale for this episode, because there was a lot of really bad stuff in this episode that I didn't get to cover in First Thoughts, so I'm going to start with the alright and the things that I liked and just sort of go down from there. First thing that I loved the inclusion of the Mulder Council. The Mulder Council consists of 4 representatives to each represent the different sections of the Downworld. As we saw in Bound by Blood, there was Meliorn, Raphael, Magnus and Luke. The representative is elected or chosen, and they go and represent the Downworlders, whatever section that they're from. They represent them and put across their thoughts and feelings. Normally to the Shadowhunters this would happen. Normally the Mulder Council would meet with the Shadowhunters every now and then and talk about ways to improve things, ways that they think that they're being treated badly. The Shadowhunters don't normally listen, they don't really take it on board most of the time, so it was interesting to see them hold a Mulder Council without the inclusion of the Shadowhunters. For once, it was actually talking about something against the Shadowhunters. We see Meliorn talking about how Luke and Magnus have let their feelings be influenced by the Shadowhunters that they're involved in. And it's true, they are. It can't be argued that they're not. Luke is obviously biased because of Clary. Magnus is obviously biased because of Magnus. Raphael is supposedly biased because of Isabelle, but we'll talk about that later because that's fucking stupid. But it's true, they're letting their feelings get mixed up with the people that from the Shadow World that they're involved in, and it clouds their judgment because I think it's been made pretty clear that I think Clary should die with the way this plot is gone. So I'm really not happy that they're not considering this option and that they're acting like it's a big travesty that Meliorn would even suggest it. Meliorn was the only forward-thinking person at that council. He was the only one who had a decent solution to this problem that they were having, which is kill Clary. It's the only choice that they have. In the end, Raphael agreed, and I'm kind of happy about that, but considering Raphael's behaviour later in the episode, I can't find it myself to be kind of happy about his actions. It just doesn't feel right, but I will give him props for agreeing with Meliorn eventually that the only logical explanation is for Clary to die. And if you want to see my thoughts on the whole Clary needing to die situation, then go to First Thoughts. Trust me, I'm very passionate about her death now because of the way that they've written it. It needs to happen. I know there's going to be a loophole that'll make it not happen, but still, no matter what way they're going to bullshit their way out of it, everyone should be in consensus in the episode right now that Clary needs to die, but no, it's Clary, she can't die. Something else that I liked, actually something that I loved, was Alec taking control of the Institute again and shutting down Victor Aldertree like a badass motherfucker. Finally, we're getting this. I couldn't wait for the downfall of Victor Aldertree. I don't know if this is the complete downfall. I feel like he will be playing in later because I feel like it's not just going to be a matter of Alec giving him a stern telling off and for him to crawl back into a corner or whatever. I do feel like he will be coming back, but it was very satisfying seeing Alec just shut him down and just like, no, I'm not listening to you anymore. You addicted my sister to drugs. Fuck off. I'm doing what I want. And it's so good to see because Alec was the one who ran the Institute when his parents weren't there. He was the one who was in charge. He was the one who took care of everything before Victor showed up. He was the one, before Lydia came in and was told to take over control from him, he was the one who everyone looked up to and who everyone listened to. Even Lydia listened to him a couple of times. Now, Lydia didn't let his feelings cloud her judgment, as we've seen in episode 1, but she did respect his opinion because he had ran the Institute before. So it was definitely so satisfying to see him take back control. It was also an example of what's going to happen if you mess with Alec and his family. He is not going to stand for it. He will shut you down. Victor's lucky he only got a stern telling off when you see what happened to Raphael. Now we're getting into the icky stuff. Kleiman is getting very uncomfortable. I was personally never a fan of Kleiman. As I've said before, when it finally became canon in the last episode, I said that I didn't like it. I thought it felt forced in the books. I felt it was a very unnecessary thing to include in the books because it was clear that Clary was just going with Simon to get over her feelings for Jace. Clary is not... She doesn't have romantic feelings for Simon. She's barely devastated when they break up. I think she's more embarrassed than she is devastated by it. So it's hard to sort of get into this couple who you know isn't genuine. And it's heartbreaking because you know Simon's genuine. It's just Clary who's not. You're seeing them interacting and you're seeing them kissing and making out and enjoying themselves. But it's hard to get into because you know that Simon has proper feelings for Clary, and Clary is more just using him as a scapegoat to get over her feelings for Jace. And I've said this before, I excuse Jace for doing this with other girls, but that's because he didn't do it with girls who had genuine feelings for him. He did it with girls who just wanted to screw around. And I think it's very insensitive for Clary to clearly know that Simon has feelings for her and to continue and do it anyway. Maybe she has herself convinced that she does have feelings, but it's very sudden to be in a serious relationship again after having such a traumatizing experience with Jace and finding out that he was her brother. So I could never get into climbing, and it's feeling very forced to me. I don't want to see them making out in a boat. I don't want to see them almost having sex. I mean, I wasn't that offended by Magnus and Alec not having sex. In the show, they do have sex, but we don't get to see it. But even I'm getting a bit irritated with the fact that we're seeing Kleiman nearly having sex now, and it's like, okay, you can give them, but you can give Malik. So it is getting a bit irritating, and I want them to stop, because apart from the Kleiman shippers, no one is getting much from this, and it's just like, can't you just have sappy moments? Because really, it's very uncomfortable. In my opinion, it's very uncomfortable to see Clary and Simon getting freaky and the rowboat. It just... Ew, stop. I'm going to take these off because of the reflection of my computer on the lens. Next point. Next thing that really bothered me. The sibling dynamic between Alec and Isabelle in this episode. The dynamic between Alec and Isabelle in this episode was very bad. And I say very bad because Isabelle was so... I don't know the word. People have excused her behaviour by saying, oh, she's an addict. Addicts blame everyone but themselves. And it's like, okay, I get that. But it really rubbed me the wrong way when she insinuated that Alec didn't notice that something was wrong. We saw in How Are Thou Fallen that Alec did notice that something was wrong, but Isabelle brushed it off even though he said, you don't look fine.
On a special assignment, checking out some rogue vamp dens.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Don't seem fine.
Tired.
What else is he supposed to do? Hold her at gunpoint and force her to tell him what's wrong? He couldn't do that. What is she expecting? And I get that it's a product of her being addicted to Yin Fen, but it still annoyed me, and it still really bothered me that she had the nerve to say that to him, and the fact that she was angry that he was upset with her. It's just, it was a mess. After all the good sibling dynamic we get between Alec and Isabelle, this was just kind of so off. It didn't make sense. It didn't fit to me. It was... And I'm chalking this down to the Yin Fen, I guess, but it just didn't feel like Isabelle. It didn't... That's the problem with this drug addiction plot line. It's turning into a character that isn't Isabelle anymore, and it's... I hope it ends soon. I hope this is where it ends. I hope now that Alec has found out about it and has warned Raphael off, this is going to stop. Because it needs to stop. Any further, and this is not going to be Isabelle anymore. It's just going to be a different character that Emerald plays, who's addicted to drugs and isn't interested in getting better. I don't know how to explain it. It just really rubbed me the wrong way when she was like, you didn't notice that anything was wrong. Raphael was here for me. It was like, bitch, if Alec knew, he would have been there for you. Don't insinuate that he wouldn't. Alec would have been right there for you if he hadn't known. What you mean is, if Alec had known, he would have stopped you taking drugs, whereas when Raphael knew, he didn't. That's what you're saying. That's what you're trying to put across by changing the words a little. And if we're really going to get into this, Isabelle, let's take a minute. It's just like, if Alec didn't notice that you were addicted to drugs, how did you not notice that he was clearly suicidal? Are we going to play this game any further? I just hope it stops. I just don't think it fits their characters as brother and sister very well. I liked how protective Alec was. It was very in character for me for him to come barging in and beating up Raphael for sating Isabelle's drug addiction instead of stopping it. I felt like that was very in character. That was very Big Brother-esque of him. But apart from that, Isabelle isn't acting like herself anymore because of this drug addiction, and that's fine for a small drug plot line, but it's going on a bit too long now, and I really wanted to stop before, as I say, it evolves into something it's not, because it's becoming very uncomfortable to watch, especially now that her and Raphael are being romantic together. Oh, I'm gonna have to talk about Rizzy, aren't I? Let's talk about Rizzy. Rizzy does not exist. Rizzy is not a thing. Rizzy is never going to happen, and Rizzy is never going to be canon. Why did I say this? Well, let's take a step into Twitter history. In Twitter history, Cassandra Clare has stated that she believes that Raphael is an arrow ace. Arrow ace being that he's aromantic and asexual. I don't think that. I feel it's very hard to know when Cassandra Clare is telling the truth about these things, because she can be full of shit when it comes to sexualities. The way that she changed Magnus's sexuality makes it very difficult for people to know whether she's honest or not about the sexualities of her characters. But let's say that she is. If she is right about Raphael, if that she does mean this and isn't going to change it, then that means that Raphael can't have romantic feelings for Isabelle. It's just not possible. It's against what he is as who he is as a person. It just wouldn't work. But let's entertain the idea that he's not arrow-ace for a minute. Rizzy still wouldn't happen. And I don't know whether I'm saying this from the perspective of someone who finds it very uncomfortable that Rizzy is happening right now, but I think it's terrible. It's a terrible idea. Every interaction that Isabelle and Raphael have had are to sate her drug addiction. This relationship, as people are calling it, is a product of Isabelle trying to further sate her drug addiction, trying to get more. Isabelle doesn't have feelings for Raphael. She said Raphael was here for her when she needed him, when she needed him to give her drugs, but I don't think she has genuine feelings for him. For one thing, it's only been one episode since they finally met, so I doubt there's actually anything romantic going on there. But second of all, it just doesn't work. They don't have any chemistry. I'm not blaming this on the actors. I'm not going to blame David Castro or Emery Tobia, but there's no chemistry there. It just feels so forced and so uncomfortable. I don't like it. And when you put all of that together with the fact that they're erasing the fact that Raphael is said by Cassandra Clare to be arrow ace, it's a mess. It's like they just added in this sexy relationship where the vampire feeds off the human for no reason whatsoever, but to further add to this drug plot that really should have ended a couple of episodes ago. I've been defending this drug plot. I thought that it would be alright. It's something for Isabelle's character to do, but it's getting ridiculous. This feeding thing is just ridiculous. This vampire venom thing is ridiculous, and it's baffling that they decided to go this way. There could have been so many different ways they could have went with this. They could have just had the drug plotline being a way of exposing Victor. But no, they had to insert this romance between Raphael and Isabelle, even though it wasn't necessary at all. They could have been friends. Raphael could have helped her get more of his venom on a friendship level. They didn't have to insert this throwaway line about him having feelings for her. It's stupid. And I really hope they don't pursue it, because it's ridiculous and it doesn't fit. And as I say, it's forced and doesn't feel right at all. I really hope it stops. People have a right to be upset about Rizzy. Rizzy is so uncomfortable. No. Alec beating Raphael has caused a lot of controversy. I don't know why. Are you trying to say to me that if you found out that someone was supplying a loved one or a sibling of yours with drugs, knowing that it could well kill them, you wouldn't beat them up? You wouldn't punch him in the face? Because I'm pretty sure most of us would. I know I would. I wouldn't stand for that shit. Isabelle is Alec's little sister. Isabelle is one of the very few people Alec has in his life who he can talk to about his life, his relationships. He grew up with her. She's his sister. And he finds out that this vampire is supplying her with vampire venom to sate her yin fen addiction. Instead of maybe saying, like, look, Isabelle, no, I can't do this. Yin fen is dangerous. My vampire venom's dangerous. I can't do this. Because Raphael was well within his capability to turn Isabelle down. The only time I give him credit for not doing it, the only time that I would say that he didn't have a choice was when she waved the blood under his nose. Because I get it, self-control and all that stuff. But apart from that, Raphael is not a child. Raphael knew full well what he was doing. Raphael needs to accept the consequences of what he has done. Does it make it okay Alec beat him up? No. It does. If you've beaten up anyone's wrong. But it doesn't make Alec a bad person. It doesn't mean that he's... Someone argued it was prejudiced, and that just baffled me. It was just like, what? Prejudice? Alec punched him because he was supplying Isabelle with drugs, and that's prejudice? No, it's just Alec being a big brother and doing what big brothers do when they find out that someone's hurting their sibling. Oh. Raphael is not a baby. Raphael knew what he was doing. I get Raphael's a beloved character in the series, but he's not a child. He's not someone who you can make excuses for just because you want to try and make him seem like a better person or a better character. The way they've written him in the show is stupid. See this last episode or two where Raphael has been supplying Isabelle with vampire venom. Raphael has been an idiot. Raphael has been a moron. Raphael has been a bad guy. Not a good character, a bad guy. And it just baffles me that instead of acknowledging the fact that Raphael was wrong, people are jumping to accusing Alec of being an asshole for beating him up. I don't care what your point of view is. Raphael supplied Isabelle with drugs. That's not excusable behaviour. No matter who it is. If it was Alec supplying someone with drugs, that would be even worse. You know, it's not like Raphael was being forced. He wasn't being bribed. He wasn't being made to do it. He did it of his own volition. He did it of his own free will. This isn't an argument of, oh, well, he didn't know what he was doing. He knew full well what he was doing. Even Magnus recognised that, and Magnus raised Raphael. Raphael was a child when Magnus met him. Like a proper child, not like the child that people are babying him to be in the fandom. Magnus knew him when he was a child, and he raised him as his own to help him be able to act like a human being so he could go back to his family. So for Magnus to have someone who he considers a son to do this, even Magnus understood that what Raphael done was wrong. So the people in the fandom are trying to defend Raphael's behaviour is just astounding. Why are you accusing Alec of being an asshole before you acknowledge that Raphael was a dick for giving Isabelle drugs? It doesn't make sense. As I say, it's not okay that Alec beat him up. It's not okay if anyone beats anyone up, but I understand where he was coming from. I even understand why Alec was upset with Magnus for it. It doesn't make sense to me. Sometimes this fandom really baffles me with how confusing their feelings are. And honestly, there's so many confusing feelings that you can't even address it in one video, but this was something that stood out to me in particular, something that has made no sense whatsoever and was just completely and utterly mind-blowing to how ridiculous it was. Raphael fucked up. Raphael had to accept the consequences of fucking up, and those consequences came in the form of being beat up by Alec Lightwood. It doesn't excuse Alec's behaviour. It doesn't excuse Raphael's behaviour. It doesn't even excuse Isabelle or Magnus's behaviour. But out of everyone in that situation, Isabelle and Raphael are the ones who should be held liable for their actions. And that's not just me talking this from an Alec Lightwood fan. I know that Alec is problematic. He does have problems in his character, but beating up Raphael for giving his little sister drugs is not one of those problems. It's just not. So that's it for this week, Shadowhunters, Angels, and Dark Mulders alike. I'll see you next week for the final 2 review episodes for Season 2A. I really hope it doesn't end with a shit episode. I couldn't cope if it was as bad as this one. So I'll see you next week, Shadowhunters, Angels, and Dark Mulders alike. And remember, don't let Raphael give you drugs. It won't end well, especially if you have a big brother.